Survival on Purpose coverage of the SHOT Show is sponsored by Hog Holsters and Olight Flashlights. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose coverage of the 2020 SHOT Show. And like always, I'd like to stop by another good Georgia company here, Blue Force Gear. And we're going to talk to John's going to talk to us today. You've seen the Vickers Sling on the channel before. And I thought instead of me trying to muddle through this, we're trying to get some advice on it. You may have had a question about how to adjust your sling, how to set it up, how to properly install it. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk real quickly about the differences, the pros and cons from a 1 versus a 2-point sling. Those are probably the two most common slings, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyway, John, thanks again for taking a minute out of your busy day.
Definitely.
Just to start with, so you've got a Vickers Sling, a standard Vickers Sling, which is probably one of the most popular rifle slings in the world.
Yeah, we've got over 275,000 in use just across all branches of service.
Yeah.
And if you're in the Marine Corps, is now the issue sling with the USMC M27 AR.
So just take it away. I'll let you talk. I'll shut up because I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, it's all good. So the Vickers Sling, what makes the Vickers Sling really awesome is that I can adjust this sling from kind of like a static carrying position, just like this, where I'm hands off, to as I pull back on the pull tab, you notice that the sling is going to get longer and longer, so I can actually pick it up and shoot it without ever having to take it off or adjust anything else. And you notice that as I'm adjusting it, there's no tail, there's nothing else here, and I'm using the same point to make it tighter or to make it looser. So
It's almost like magic.
Just like magic. So when you're talking about adjusting, first you're going to want to say, like, what am I doing? So some people like their slings a little light, loose, some a little tight. I kind of like mine like this, where it's nice and easy and relaxed. You know, it's not too much on me, as you can see, but it's here. And if I have to go hands on, you know, it's coming down a little bit, but it's not flopping around everywhere. And if I have to run like this, you know, my knees aren't hitting or anything like that, or I can even switch it in the back and run a little bit faster like that. So by doing that, you know, we call this here is the front of the sling. So this is towards the business end, and that's where you're going to want to have the adjuster. And then towards the rear is kind of your fixed position. So you would adjust this to your body size, and you want to think whether you're wearing armor or not, or whether you're wearing anything else, over a coat, big thick coats if you're up in the north. And so you would take most of your adjustment out on the back side here. You want to leave as much adjustment room here because that's where you're going to be able to get the most freedom of movement that way. Right. So again, you just want to kind of set it up to you. I kind of like mine like this. When Larry Vickers sets his up, he has it a little bit looser, and some people have it a lot tighter so that it doesn't really move.
Right.
So
yeah. So, but it gives you the option to with the Vickers adjustments loop there, I guess is what I call it. It gives you the option to get it out where you can get a good shoulder weld, get it in your shoulder pocket, and still not have to take everything off.
Yeah, I can pick it up and I can fire it just like that. So I don't have to take it off or anything like that. Very different than all the hunters out there that kind of do this over the shoulder. Right. Or if you get a it's still surprising me, you get a new gun, pay a lot of money, it comes in a cardboard box and it has a strap.
Yeah.
That you're supposed to do this, and it's just like that's just not optimal.
What's the retail on a standard sling? Yeah.
$49.95 for unpadded, and that's guaranteed for life. And it's also made in the USA too, so it's important for a lot of people.
I mean, that's a killer deal. So, and then you also have padded. You have a lot of different versions. You have padded and stuff like that. So
padded, unpadded, ones with push buttons, ones with other hardware sewn in, and just regular bear. So if you just want to put it in a regular rifle that way. Yeah.
So a lot of different options, but all the same basic sling. Yeah. And then so we're going to talk about the difference between 1 point and, because I see a lot of 1 point slings, and you see, you know, everybody watches all the movies and you know, all this stuff, and they see all these operators on, you know, doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And that may or may not be the best solution for the average person for home defense or for whatever they're using the rifle for.
Yeah. Well, to answer that, we kind of came a solution. So this is the Vickers 2-to-1 sling. That stands for so it's actually spelled with the number 2 to 1, and that's from 2 point to 1 point.
Oh, really?
So as you see here, then when it talks about points, it's how many times is it attaching to the rifle. So right now, this is considered 2 point sling. It's in the rear towards the front. So and this will operate just like everything else. Now this is set up not towards me, but kind of get the idea.
Right.
The advantage of the 2 point here is just like I was showing there is you can kind of have it slung kind of patrol ready. So it's just here. I can have one hand on it. I can have no hands on it. It's going to kind of stay. If I wanted to kind of put it towards my back like this, crawl through things, go through the woods or whatever, it's there like that.
It's not swinging around though.
Yeah, it's not swinging around exactly. So now, single point, biggest thing you want to remember is make sure your gun is set up for single point. For that, you want to have the single point that it's attaching to the gun as close to the rear of the receiver as possible. So you see in our AK analog blue gun here, as we call it, I've got an attachment point right there. Okay. Now for the 2-to-1 sling, I've just used the push button on the front and put it on the socket here.
Okay, so you got a QD socket on the sling.
Yep. So now it's in single point sling. So if you figured if this was a different sling, it's attached to one part of the gun, making it a single point. So as you can see here, I can still have it let it hang, but now it's got a lot more because now it's just pivoting on one point. Which makes the single point kind of great is if I was in and out of a vehicle maybe, as I'm sitting down I could just kind of have it here just like this.
Yeah.
So, and also transitioning is a lot easier. So if I'm shooting right-handed and I want to go offhand, see I can just switch it over here like this, and now I can go offhand.
You don't have to swim out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas the other one, you have to adjust it back, put it around your neck, swim out of it, do something the other way, which can be done, but it's just not as fast as like this. So.
From my viewpoint, as just a typical civilian, probably a 2-point is more practical general use.
Yeah.
If you're unless you're like the vehicle, that's my, because I've always had a personal question about that. What's the pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages?
Yeah.
And this, I didn't even know you had this.
Yeah.
This is like this is not a setup. I didn't realize they had this 2-to-1 thing when I asked him to make this video. But this is like you don't have to choose.
Yep, you got both here. The only caveat is you just want to make sure your gun has the QD sockets on it. So
right.
And even if your gun doesn't, if it has rails, there's a lot of companies out there that make rail attachment, or if it's M-lock, you can put the little M-lock QD swivels on. So yeah. But to answer your question about civilian, again, it's all back to your original purpose and what you're comfortable with. I prefer 2-point. I just feel a little more secure with it. And if I'm walking out in the woods down in down in Florida or whatever, my ranch land, I can do that.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about it swinging around and hitting me or anything like that. Now, if I'm doing competition shooting, I like this sometimes because I can just and then transition real quick if I need to, as I throw it down here, kind of blocking under this arm. And
that makes sense. So. Yeah. Is this made like this, or can you rethread this?
You can. So this is called the bird's head socket, and that will go on the standard Vickers Sling, and then that gives you a QD point right on your sling webbing too. So even if you had a loop on the side, you just took your regular sling and looped that around there and had that on your sling, and then had a push button on the front, you can do it that way too.
So if you already had a Vickers Sling, you could buy this and make it a 2-to-1.
Yep. But if you had push buttons on it, even seeing guys using just two regular like HK hooks on like their scars, and the HK hook actually has a little circle. You can clip one HK hook onto another one, so you can get kind of like that way. Yeah. It's not as fast, but it would still do the point for you. So.
Yeah. So that's pretty slick. Yeah. I like that. So is this brand new?
This has actually been out for quite a few years now.
Okay.
So I'm
right on the cutting edge of technology, folks.
Well, earlier when Larry Vickers was here, someone asked how many versions of the slings you have, and it's like I don't even know. Several pages. So always tell if you go to blueforcegear.com, you can look at all the slings, and we're always coming out with new versions too and limited editions. Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah. Well, John, thanks for taking a minute for clearing up this, at least in my mind. Hopefully this has been helpful to you, because I saw instead of me muddling through it trying to figure it out, we just talked to somebody that actually knows. So as always, thanks for watching Survival on Purpose, and this is Survival on Purpose coverage of the 2020 SHOT Show. And don't forget, survival is not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.